Hello, Gutam. How are you doing? How is everyone? These are my PC specs here. That's my CPU, as my GPU, as my memory. Hey, I don't think I'm going to talk too much today. I'm just going to be doing this and see. My entire file just crashed, because Blender crashed. Erased because Blender crashed. You can try recovering it by going to the recover section, last session here, and see if you will be able to recover it. Yeah, so this is not what I did. I'm just trying to see if I can replicate it, Brandstones. The best way to create something like this would be in After Effects, but I want to see if it's doable in Blender. I'm just going to rotate. Also want to kind of create the same animation here, so I'm just going to start keyframing some of these so that we have some cool animation. Just going to Let me change the frame rate to 60 frames to have a smoother animation. Just going to get these keyframes here. I think we can play with these controls just a bit. Can play with the Z location as well. Hello, Curious Time. How are you doing? Hello, Runa Kuma. How are you doing? Glad to see you back. Okay, so that's what we have. What are you making? We're trying to recreate something like this for sci-fi. Just trying to do some motion graphics because I think it's a topic that has not been touched a lot in Blender. Maybe offset these keyframes just a tiny bit. You agree? Yeah, I think there are not a lot of tutorials about motion graphics. I think I can add in this thing that is going up here, so just going to get a curve. Hello, Aki. How are you doing? I'm great myself. How are you? And we want to have, let's create an animation for this. I'm just going to add a keyframe here. We're going to animate it only on the Y direction, so we don't need these keyframes. And delete these other keyframes. Yes. I want to create a very interesting animation, so I'm going to, let's see. That's too fast. Kuma, I'm 29, I think. Or, yeah, I think I'm 29. I was born April 14th, 1992, so. Still too fast. Let me just, actually, I just need to. You know what, let me just do this. Let these keyframes and just Okay, that should give me an idea of the speed that I need to move this. Hey, thank you for subscribing, Inda. I'm from East Africa, that's in Uganda. So I want to have that kind of animation like that. But I think it's a bit too fast, so I'm just going to scale it down a bit. Maybe offset, change the offset distance, something like that. Now we can start adding in more detail. What do you for a living? What do you do for a living? Yeah, it's mostly related to Blender. Most of a programmer and a web developer. So it's a combination of things. How much YouTube paid you? I just want to create some kind of a grid system. Just going to duplicate this. And I just give this a different color. I'm so excited to hear. Me too, man. Me too. I'm just going to mirror these or just use an array system. Let's see. We want to create a grid. Okay, this. Hello, CG, the fan. CG, how are you doing? I think you aren't gonna tell me. Nah, man, that's private information, man. It's I think I've shared before. I have done a video uh about how much I make on YouTube. I think it was 2 years ago. But the reason I'm no longer saying out that information is because I work with other people on certain projects sometimes, and they may not want me to share that information. So, yeah. Yeah, let me give this a slight animation. And now we can extrapolate that animation using the modifier cycle repeat with offset to make that go on forever. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, so the reason why I don't share this that information anymore is that I'm working with different people on certain projects. So unless I consult with them first, I can't just give out that information anymore, which is a bit unfortunate. Actually. I want to create this pattern here, so let me just add a curve. And this curve is going to have that kind of material. Just make sure that the material is not too bright, so I'm just going to So if I may ask, what is the best time for you guys for a live stream? Because I've been playing around with different times. Just to see. I'm just going to mirror this. And in the curve animation, in the curve settings, there is a start and end mapping that we can animate. Over here in the state, space-time might be 12 hours from now. 12 hours from now. Ah, I see. I think is that usually what when I'm streaming, because I stream. Yeah, I've been streaming about 12 hours from now. Yeah, that's what I've been usually streaming at, I think. My Wi-Fi gone, tata bye. Yeah. No problem, man. The live stream will be around after if you want to watch it. Now we can add in more elements, maybe some colored elements just for contrast. Hello Rega, how are you doing? I can use some text. Just add some sci-fi text in there. We're going to find a sci-fi font. Typically when people have lunch or get out of school at this time. I see. Or 4 p.m. I see. I think I can. Actually, let me get my deco designer because it would be very useful here. And grab this element here, just add it to my scene. Now I think if we have a volume object, or actually what we can do is just add a plane, a simple plane. Add the bottom here, at the bottom like this. And what we can do with that plane, we can give it a new material, call it big GIF for background. Make Calc 3D. I'm not very good at character design, so nope. No. We're just going to give this first UV unwrap this, and I'm just going to use a texture gradient, texture. But let me first make sure that this is a darker surface. And what we're going to do with this texture gradient, we are going to use a spherical shape. And we're going to map it to an empty, like this. To an empty, like this, and make sure that this is using object mapping. That way we can create gradients as we want. And we are just going to use this to light the back area, the background. Can we use motion graphics in UI? I'm not sure what you mean there. Because yeah, this could be like a UI. Just want to have a faint light. Actually, maybe we don't even need a gradient. We can just have a background like this and add a point light, and that should give us the gradient look we need. So where we want a bright spot, let me first reduce this. Okay, let me see. I think that looks better. And I'm just going to duplicate this array here. Can we make this in After Effects? Yes, you can make this in After Effects. And I think it would be much faster for you to make it in After Effects, but I just wanted to test out Blender. Let me scale this by twice. Now this time around, I want this to be no. How to make a UI which contains motion graphics? Well, this is exactly what we're doing here. Motion graphics is just graphics in motion, and if you're considering shapes as graphics, then I guess this is what we are doing. I want this thing here, looks good, so I'm just going to also grab it, get a shape. I'm going to grab a shape, a square like this, subdivide it plenty, just have something like that. Alright, let me just do this in a much simpler way. I want something like this, and I also want an X, so I'm just going to get And we want this to kind of stutter, like a strobe before it appears. And the way we can do that is use animate. We can have, let me see, animate is scale value. So we can turn it. Let me first go in here. We only need the scale properties. And that's what we have. So I want this to start off at its current position, then scale down. Let me use vector. Scale down to 0. And then just repeat this. Actually, let me just. So yeah, that's the strobing we want, but maybe that's a bit faster, a bit too fast. Now this is also going to be parented to this grid here. Maybe it's a bit can have something like that. Unity UI is a UI toolkit for developing user interface for games and applications. It is an object-based UI system that uses components and the game view to arrange position and style UI. So it's like the Unreal Engine version, I think, because I've tried the Unreal Engine version. We can just grab these. Yeah, so far this is what we have created. I think it looks interesting. What we can add more interesting stuff. I say, for example, I can add, just going to add in a bar here that bounces from the left to right, just for visual interest. And I'm just going to animate it. Let me first add a keyframe there. I only want to animate the X location, so I don't need all these keyframes. I'm just going to delete them like that. I found a very interesting way of animating. So I can just add a keyframe there, Shift D to duplicate it, and I think I want it to go up to around there. So I can see what it does, but I think that is too fast. And let me change this to vector, something like that. Now, if you grab these points, you can make and create something like that. Maybe that's too fast. We can, you see, we're giving it something like a bounce effect. Let me just bring this keyframe around here, so something like that. And maybe let me also make it look like an S. Interesting stream topic. Thank you. Interesting. Okay. I've got to go to study. Tomorrow is my chemistry exam. Good luck on that. Good luck. I dropped chemistry. I don't know, when I was in my secondary. So good luck with your chemistry exam. Hope. This is too fast. I'm going to scale it. Okay, something like that. Hello, Christian. How is Argentina? Okay, we can just bring this down a bit. Maybe. And we can use the cycle modifier to make this loop. And it's actually giving me an interesting idea. So we can make it loop. And I'm just going to duplicate it. Shift D. Make sure that I have no keyframes added to this. And I'm just going to grab this to the left like that. Pronoob, love from Chennai. Where is Chennai? Is that I'm not sure. I can't really. Hello, baby Y. What's up? What's up? It's been a while. I downloaded Botanic for free. Okay. Love from India. Love from UG. Beveling subdivision surface modifier and smooth shading makes everything better. Yeah, it does. It does. India. Yeah. Yeah. I think you have told me before. Yeah. So I want this to kind of like make this load. So what I'm going to do is animate the scale of this. Let me see if I can add a scale keyframe. Keyframe. Insert keyframe. Let me just. I only need the scale keyframe. And I only need the scale X keyframe, so I'm just going to delete all the other keyframes and work with this. So as this thing bounces on this, I want this to scale up. And let me use again the cycle modifier, and it should be interpolated with offset, and I make sure that the end this keyframe here. Sorry, just go in. Yeah, so tell me once about yourself. Who are you? You have a rather interesting channel and stream. Well, I'm not. Thank you. I don't really know what do you want exactly to know about myself? Because yeah. Do you have anything specific you want to know about myself? Because yeah, don't really know what to say or where to start. He's an assassin. A Blender assassin. That's it. I want this to something like that, but it's a bit too fast. So I'm just going to. I want it to time it like this is adding to it. I think it's still fast. Maybe. Yeah, something like that. Where are you from? Is it a hobby or do you work for 3D? It's both a hobby and work. Because I make some small change from YouTube and also I get some support from my Patreons. I also make some money from the add-ons I make and some freelancing projects I make using Blender, but that's not too much because I don't like doing freelancing work because it takes up a lot of time. Anyone on this stream want botanical? Kuma 33. Sorry, please don't share people's work that is supposed to be paid. If you're pirating botanic, that's not a good thing, man, because someone has put in their work to do that, to make that application, and yeah, it wouldn't be a nice thing to do. Especially if you're also suggesting other people to pirate it. It's good morning from Russia. Hello, John Conrad. How are you doing? So how have you guys been? How are you doing? I don't think I've done a proper greeting to you guys, so let me do that. Blender Assassin is a good name. I think someone has that. I remember seeing a channel. Maybe he's no longer active, but I think I remember seeing something like that. Serene, how are you? How are you doing? Yeah, good, Kuma. 33. Yeah. Especially don't, at least don't put it in the chat. It's anyway, let's continue adding in some extra detail. Let's put in some text here. Maybe let's say 00. To make this a sci-fi looking font. a center now. What I would want is to animate this text, have it count down. So I guess we have to go to Python to do that, to do some scripting, because there's no direct way to do it inside Blender. So let's open up a text editor here. Just go in here. Import. I'm working on a course, an introduction course for Python, targeting Blender users or Blender people who want to learn programming or creating add-ons. So let me just do import bpy. You conduct so many streams. I do not have to watch. I don't have to watch in order to pick up something useful. Thank you. Yeah. You don't really have to watch anything in order. You just have to pick up, watch what you need, and that should be enough. So there is a function that lets you animate the value of a property based on the time. So I think it's called bpy change frame handler. I think this is it. Let me just see. Yeah, just going to copy this and paste it in here, and just change a few things. Shouldn't take in anything. Frame handler. I think it takes in scene. Just print. Let me see if it's working. Yeah, it is working. So I can just go in here. So what this function does is it just runs a function on every frame change. So if I say something like print the current frame, which I can access. Let me first pause this by copying this full path. Go to here, print out that. Can just use bpy.context.scene. This is the only solution to animating text. So if you don't know Python programming, as I said, I'm working on a course to introduce some Python to Blender users who are not familiar with Python. So if I run this again, it should be able to. Let me check my console here. Watching two live streams at the same time. At the same time, YouTube from Africa and Dico on Twitch in Australia. Dico, do I know Dico? I don't think I know Dico. So is that also is he also streaming Blender? What is he streaming? Let me play back. You can see now we are printing every frame. What we can do is get the object, this object here, which we can find by referencing it as bpy object equals bpy.data.objects and get its name, which we can find here. Let me see, bpy.data.objects is called text.002 .data.body. Okay, that's what we want to change. So I'm just going to copy this, and I can just do object .data.body. Why is this not matching? Can equal to the current frame. So we're just going to change the text to equal to the current frame. So if I play back, we are getting an error. Not int. Okay, so this has to be changed into a string. So I need to change this to a string by casting it to a string like that. Run this again, and we are good to go. So that's how you animate text. Now we have something like that. You can even duplicate this now. He's doing Blender. Oh, nice, nice, nice. What is he doing exactly? Is he doing character modeling? Yo, keep it up. Thank you, thank you. I will. I'm just going to duplicate this, scale this up, have it somewhere here. Of course, it won't change because we have no reference to it here. So I can just copy this. Copy this and call this object 2, and this is text 003. Do the same, give it the same thing, give it the same treatment here to make it change. Run, and we have another figure running there, but we can change this a bit, maybe give it a different color. And let me mix it with transparency, shader, transparent shader. Okay, why is this? Why is this not showing? This is supposed to be an emissions shader. And I don't want it to have any shadows. I need to learn Python. Yes, yeah. Python is really important if you want to get better at Blender, or at least if you want to create more complex animations. Because without this, you wouldn't be able to do something like this. I think I'm just going to copy this here, duplicate it, have it down. And I think we have changed. We don't need these other keyframes for it. You don't need the location keyframes, we just need the scale. And I'm also going to give it a different color. Maybe it shouldn't be too bright. He's doing a full animated production in Blender, his movie. Wow. I will check him out and see. And I think we can, to make this even more interesting, we can write a script that changes text here. So I'm just going to go to my scripting here and create a new variable. I'll call it text, and I'll equal it to a list, of text. I can say, actually I can just go to lorem ipsum, just find some text. I'll just copy this paragraph here and paste it as a single string. Why is this? Just paste it as a string instead of using a list. I'm just going to have it as a string like that, and let's use double quotations. And now what I can do is convert it into a list. So I can do text list equals an empty list, and we can populate it by using for. Let me see. Actually, we can just do this text equal dot split. So we can split this into, we can convert this into a list. If I print out the text list, I should get a list. I think, yeah, I'm getting this list, and we're going to use it to make a loading thing. Sci-fi motion graphics is never done this before. I will try to watch this over the weekend. Thank you. Yeah, because I've also wanted to look for tutorials that I could watch myself, but I never could find anything. That's why you see I'm creating this. So we have a list, and with that list we want to change. Let's first create a text object here. Text object here, and I will merge it. I'll call it loading text. Let me just give it a more interesting font. Maybe give it so it's called, let's call it loading. Get its reference around here. So this is going to be object 3, and we want to get this text. And what we're going to do is that on every frame we want to change object 3's body, basically the wording, to equal to the text list at index of the current frame, meaning that on every frame we are going to get a different text. So at frame 1 we should get, at frame 0 we get this, frame 2 we get this, frame 3, frame 4, frame 5. Let's see. Hopefully we don't have any syntax errors, but if we do, it doesn't matter. We'll get, okay, seems it's not working. Let's see why. String index out of range. So seems we are getting out of range. If let's do something like if the current frame, if the current frame is less than the length of text list minus 1, then I'd do this. Otherwise, or else this here, let's just do out of frame range. We have a syntax error, and where is that? Body. Okay, it seems to be working, but if this is greater than, if the current frame is greater than length of the text list, if it's less than, not greater than, and I think this shouldn't have changed. This should have stayed. Let's see, we are referring to, okay, this is supposed to be object 3, not object 2, like this. String index out of range. If the current frame is less than length, why is this doing this? Line 17. On line 17, line 17. My bad. So it's supposed to be text list, and then current frame, like that. Run. Let's see. And if you look closely, you can see that the text is changing, but it's running too fast. It's running too fast. But we have managed to make the text change. This is the beauty of Python. Knowing Python is that you can do things that you usually that you can't really do with the default Blender setup. So we would have to figure out a way to make this slower, and I think we can do that using the using modulus. So if this is less, and we can also make sure that we do this for only if at the current frame, let me just actually make this into a variable, call it frame equals that. Only if the frame Hello Joshua, how are you doing? How is everything? If frame let me see, modulus 10, modulus 2, modulus 3, 10 modulus 2, Yeah, if frame modulus 2 equals 0, and I'm not sure what result this is going to produce, but let's see. Syntax error, where is that? Yeah, if frame. Okay, let's see if this does a lot. Let's see if modulus, if frame divide by you can see now, I think it's much slower because what we're doing now is only change the text when the frame divided by 5 gives you a remainder of 0, which I'm not sure when that happens, but let's see. Let's try divide by 10, gives you no remainder. And you can see that is now even much slower. That is much slower. But I want to have a longer string. And what we can do is, instead of separating this, because you see we are creating a list separated by a comma. So now we are only going to show when change the text to show where there is something like that. So let's play this. We are getting an error again. Object 3 equals this has to be up here. Let's add more commas, I think, so we don't run out of range. Hello, Burning Bright. It's been a while. How has everything been? Are you good? Okay, so I think if we use a comma, we're just going to run out of space, out of range quite fast. But we can make this text a bit longer by just concatenating it with a different value. So we can just do, everything is great. Good. We can just fetch, we can concatenate another value here. So we are getting this text body equals, we can do loading plus this, and plus another text here, which could be a text list, any text from the text list. How did you learn Python? I learned it through YouTube. Let me see. So I want to have a range here. Let me see, Python get random number, random item from list. Just want to get a random number. So I can use an import function here and just import this, and random choice should give us what we need. So random, where is this? Random text list. And let's see if that will help. So we are getting an out of range. If I pause. Okay, I'm not sure why we are getting an out of range. Maybe divide this by 2. This has to be single space. Yeah, so now you see we are loading, and this has to be divided by 10 to make it slower. I see. And you can see now we are loading. We have 2 text loading, and it's like creating that, you know, the Photoshop loading screen that loads. Yeah, so similar to that. And maybe what we can do is just go to the text and use right alignment. Just make sure that this is not animated. Yeah, you can see. And we can even duplicate this, have it somewhere else. But we would have to make sure that it's the same. It uses the same object name, which I'm not going to do. So just give this brighter material. Okay. And that's where we at. And let's look at the original concept here. It has this kind of third dimension to it. And I think we can also get that by just giving this a slight rotation. So if you have the camera at an angle, you see, you get that third dimension, 3-dimensional look. I guess I can use a different camera for that. Maybe even have some depth of field. What is your mic? It's very good. Thank you. It's a Blue Yeti microphone. Studio Pro, I think that's what it's called. Something like that. Let's go to camera 1. Let's see. So if you want that kind of 3-dimensional look, now we can add in more things. Maybe even just, I'm going to grab this item here, just have it. Let's make sure I have no location values. Let's continue adding in some more elements. Just going to add a curve. How did you switch from camera 1 to camera? I just have to select the camera and then use Ctrl 0. It should switch the camera for you. Just adding in more random details. Maybe scale this as it goes. I think we also need to scale this. And dun, 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 dun. Think I like this thing here. I'm just going to grab it. Just make sure we don't have any location animation. Just no rotation animation. I just want to rotate it 90 degrees. Make sure that is well centered. Maybe offset the animation just a bit. And there may be also I can even make another copy. This time you can have it. Maybe even offset that further. Can duplicate this, maybe have this on this side. How long does it take to render your projects? Well, it depends on the project. Like this, it wouldn't take that much time. And actually, we could give this a render as a. Let me see the samples. Let me actually first render a single frame and see how long it takes. Yeah, it's taking quite some time. And I think because we have a lot of samples, let's use 200 and see. Yeah, I think actually 200 is also still high, as we don't need that many samples for rendering this kind of thing. So let's see, 50 samples. Yeah, 50 samples is good. So let's give this a quick render and see, and preview this. And I think after that we can call this a day. A successful one, I think. So let's render animation. Oh god, 2,000 samples, that's too much for me. Yeah, it depends on what you're doing as well. So for this, even 10 samples would have been enough. Yeah, so Kuma, you are asking if how long it takes for rendering. This is almost real time for this kind of project because it's fast. And I think we should have added some motion blur. It would have made things much interesting. Oh, so it's done. Because we are rendering around. Yeah, this is what we have. Yeah, you just have to, if you want, you can add in more detail. And let's see, if we go to the compositor, let's see what we can do in the compositor. You can even, let me use the viewer node. And instead of using the render results or render layers, we already rendered this. So I can go to input image sequence and get my image sequence. Where is this? Input image sequence, temp, select everything, import image sequence. Now let's work with the image sequence. And actually, let me subdivide this into my compositor. Okay, so we can. I don't need this just yet, so I can just have this. I always use 256 samples in cycles for animation. That seems a bit low for, I guess it depends on what you're doing. Cyclic auto refresh. Let me see, what can we do here? Mask filters. I'm actually not sure what I want to do here. You could add a vignette. So import filter. Is it under filter? Input. There is a mask, a shape mask that we can use for a vignette. That's what I'm trying to get, and I think it's under. I'm not sure where it's under. Matte. Box mask. Let me see. That's not it. It's ellipse mask. Yeah, this here. I just have to scale it. Scale it up and to the side. Then filter. Filter. Blur. You can use Gaussian blur. And I just have to blend it on top of this, so we can use multiply. And we can add in some noise. Let me see. Is there any noise in here? Input. And glares, vector, matte. I think I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being around. Really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next live stream. Yeah, see you around. RTX 2060